This is the Miyoo Bitty. I freaking love it. Let me tell you why. Oh hi, it's me, TechDweeb. How you doing, buddy? This is the Miyoo Bitty. I've been super excited to get my hands on this, for lots of reasons. The main reason is that it's so cute. Look at this thing. Tell me it's not cute. I dare you. Come at me, bro. I love getting new gadgets. That's why I made my channel. I live in Canada, so it's freaking cold. And while blizzards and protesters and viruses and Ethereum zombies and the general apocalypse rages on outside, I tend to retreat inwards and burrow down and all warm and cozy and safe in my mom's basement. And video games bring me so much joy and happiness. I get so excited at the toys we have access to these days. I want to do more retro handheld reviews because I love showing you guys these things. But I don't have an unlimited budget. My channel's starting to grow. I hit a new milestone the other day. But I need to pick and choose my gadgets carefully. I only want the best stuff, the stuff that appeals to me, that I personally will like and enjoy. And those that know me well know that I love little retro handhelds that look like the old Game Boy, or at least in that form factor, with a screen on top and the buttons underneath. I made a video about my search for the perfect Game Boy. Check out that video linked below. But there's a new contender in the perfect Game Boy space. This Miyoo Bitty. How do you say that? Miyoo? Miyoo? Like a cat? Mew? Mew? This thing took forever to get to me. I have the worst luck with choosing sellers on AliExpress apparently. This took almost 2 months. Oh, it's here. That's all that matters. I'm excited to show this to you guys. I'm going to show you how it comes right out of the box, how it works, how it feels, my general impressions after enjoying it for a few days. But first we'll unbox it. I mean, I already unboxed it, so I gotta rebox it and then unbox it. So suspend your disbelief and let's pretend I just got this in the mail and we'll open it together. Oh wow, look everyone. I just got a new unopened Miyoo Bitty. I can't wait to unbox this and check it out. The box is actually pretty nice. Nice picture on the front, some info on the back, micro SD card, headphones, save games, IPS screen. That's good stuff. There's a sleeve on the outside. Inside we have the Miyoo Bitty, an adorable little bag. Here's the instructions, how to set up and save games and the settings. Some words about how to do stuff, some pictures, it's just word, paper. Oh hey, let me know in the comments, do you guys like to smell your stuff when you get it? I love sticking my nose in the box whenever I get something. This word paper has a definite smell, but I like it. It's like a food smell. I'm not just saying this because this thing's from China, but it smells sort of like Chinese food. Or like curry or something. It's nice though, I'm not complaining. Alright, enough of that. Under here we have our SD card. We'll check that out in a bit. Here we have the neon green SD card reader that I won't bother with, but I guess it's nice to have if you don't have a SD card reader. And a cheapo USB cord. Anything under here? Oh my gosh, an Oreo? Oreo from China? Sweet. Oh man, it's one of the thin Oreos. Kinda stale. Not the best, but not bad. I'll give this Oreo a 6 out of 10. And let's get on to the Miyoo Bitty. Real quick, here's the specs. Did you catch that? No? Okay, here it is again. Was that too quick? Too bad. Nobody cares about the specs. Go back and pause the video, loser. Let's get our grubby fingers on this thing and see how it feels. So my first impressions are that it feels amazing. It's very small, and the big shiny screen with the tiny bezels, it definitely feels like a premium device, but other than the screen, the rest of it has that retro vibe that I love. It's obviously going for the Game Boy look. I don't think anyone would disagree about that, but it has some interesting touches that make it feel unique. I mean, the original Bittboy went for the Game Boy look and they tried to stick a little closer, right down to the bezels around the screen and the placement of the buttons and the speaker and all that, but this one took some artistic license to change it up. The edges are less rounded and it's a bit more angular overall. The buttons are spaced out so they're sort of near the edge of the case and it feels much more modern. The plastic is more brown than the original DMG Game Boy or the Bittboy, and I like that. It's close, but it's just a little bit different. And the actual color looks really great to my eyes. The plastic has a great texture and hand feel, and the ribbing around the back for gripping feels just right. Even the seams around the edges feel more premium than lots of these cheap handhelds. Oh, speaking of which, this was 55 bucks. So it costs more than the cheapo handhelds like the Bittboy or the PowKiddy V90, which are about 30 bucks. It's almost twice the price, but it's cheaper than other more premium little handhelds like the 280V, which is probably the Miyoo Mini's closest competitor, and it goes for about 85 bucks these days. On the front, we have a D-pad, 4 face buttons, start and select, and a function button. Going around the back, we have 4 shoulder buttons. Bottom has a headphone jack, SD card slot, a USB-C charging port. Just charging, no data transfer on that one. On the side, we have a volume wheel, which I love. I much prefer a volume wheel to buttons personally. And on the top, we have a power button. The D-pad feels pretty good. It was a little stiff out of the box, but it feels fine now. It sticks out far and it rocks well. Overall, yeah, it's pretty good. Not much to complain about, other than the discoloration on the plastic on my unit. It's not important, but I did notice it right away. As for the buttons, they're great. The ABXY buttons are shiny and they feel perfect. Good mix of click and push. I will say that my B button was really stiff at first. I actually felt like there was something wrong with my device because it had a really weird feel when you pushed it. I was considering taking it apart to try and fix it, but after playing with it for a while, it just went away on its own. It just needed to be worked in, I guess. The start and select are clicky. They feel really great, actually. I like when the main buttons are mushy and the extra buttons are clicky. Shoulder buttons can go either way for me. Speaking of which, these are clicky. I like them. I really like the placement. It's nice that we got both shoulder buttons, but what they've done here that I've never seen done before is they put the L2 and the R2 slightly raised up from L1 and R1, which is good because your finger naturally rests on a bit of an angle when you have your hand up there. So it makes it easy to press one or the other or both without having to move your finger. You can just kind of rock it. Rock it, baby. I don't know why that's not a more common way of doing things. I don't have a ton of these handhelds, but I have quite a few, and I've never seen this done before. Volume wheel feels like very good quality, not cheap at all. Diet root beer break. Oh man, I freaking love diet root beer. I love regular root beer more, but my mom won't buy it for me. She says the sugar makes me too hyper. Which is true, to be honest. I broke a lamp. The battery is replaceable, which is nice. It's a Samsung style battery, specifically the Samsung EB645247LU. You can buy them on AliExpress for like 15 bucks. I'll leave a link in the description below. I love having replaceable batteries. I don't leave my dungeon of solitude in my mom's basement very often, but one thing I do like to leave for is hiking and camping. And when I go out into the woods, I much prefer to have a swappable battery rather than having to bring a battery bank and USB cords and all that stuff. Okay, enough blabbering on. Let's get this thing fired up and I'll show you what you get right out of the box. You gotta hold down the power button to get the boot starting. It takes about 13 seconds to boot up. It's not bad. So, here we are at the home screen. This is a Linux power device. It runs a custom Linux front end, and it has standalone emulators and Retroarch as the backend. I like the look of the menu. It's orange and gray, which I dig. The menu is very simple. We have a recent section, favorites, which is always nice to see, a game section that contains our systems. I'll show you that in a minute. A Retroarch menu that has our Retroarch cores. I'll show you that later. App, which has a few standalone apps that I'll probably never touch. And the settings menu has some basic options like a brightness setting, change the language, the key mapping. You can change the background music volume, which I turned on to 0 because I don't like background music in my menu. Hibernate, which is where I think that's just sleep, turns the screen off if you don't touch it for a while. And factory reset, device info, and hardware test. Let's jump into some games. I want to show you what you can play right away, as soon as you get this thing. It comes preloaded with ROMs, but there's some quirks to the ROM library as always. Gonna do a Game Boy test first. You can scroll up and down or use the shoulder buttons as a page up or page down, which is super convenient. The Game Boy library is big. At a glance, they're all English ROMs, which I appreciate because I don't speak or read Chinese or Japanese. Starting off with my go-to device testing game that I always use as my first test. My old school TechDweeb homies know what's coming up. Burger time for the Game Boy. Like I said at the start, I love devices that look and feel like a Game Boy because I love playing Game Boy games on them. Burger Time is my favorite Game Boy game, so I always play it first. And it plays great, of course, no issues. The menu button brings up the system menu. So this runs Linux, as I said, and there's a universal menu, which is really cool. You can save your state right from here, and it even does the little save state screenshot, which is nice. And then you can select the native menu to bring up the options for the emulator. Not many options for Game Boy here. We can't change the screen colorization or anything. We just have the option to change the scaling, so at least there's that. I actually like to play Game Boy games full screen, even if they're a little stretched. But this 1.5 scaling with the Game Boy bezels looks pretty good on this screen size with the old school bezels. Speaking of how it looks, let's talk about the screen. It's 2.8 inch 640 by 480 IPS display. Now, I've seen a few reviews for this thing, and the feedback on the screen is all over the place. Some reviewers say it's the best screen ever, and some say it's the worst. I heard that this device reuses overstocked BlackBerry screens from 2011, which might explain the discrepancy. If some of the screens were A-grade screens and some were B-grade screens. You know, when you buy screens off these Chinese websites like AliExpress, the quality is all over the place. I can't say for sure. I'm just gonna say that the screen did blow me away. It's supposed to be IPS, but it doesn't have the same brightness and viewing angles that most good IPS displays have. You can sort of see the scan lines when you look close, but it's not bad. It looks pretty good overall, and it sort of fits the feel of the device too. The IPS Bittboy looks brighter, but the Miyoo Mini is a much higher resolution, and it feels like a high quality, older display. The Miyoo Mini is about as bright as the Anbernic 280V, which is better, but not by much. Generally, I like the screen on the Miyoo Mini. Could it be better? Yeah, but it's good. It's good. So let's get into some game testing here. I'm gonna go through most of the systems and try a couple games. I'm gonna quickly say that there are some issues with this OS and some extra setup is needed to get everything configured, and there's a new firmware build called Onion OS that fixes pretty much everything and makes a much smoother experience. But I'm gonna do that stuff in another video, so get subscribed so you don't miss it. Right now we're just gonna see the out of the box experience. Going into the game section, we're gonna go through the list from left to right. Starting with Arcade. There's not much in here, just a few games for some reason, 72 arcade games. I haven't heard of most of these. One thing I like is if you press right on the D-pad, you can navigate while looking at the cover art. I think you can add art for all the systems, but they don't all come with art pre-installed. But let's try this game, Blood Warrior. Oh, that's a great name for a game. Looks like it's in Chinese or Japanese. Okay, there's definitely some slowdown here. That's not a good start. If we look at the menu options, we can see that this is running in Retroarch, I think. Frame skip, doesn't work, doesn't fix anything. So this one's a no. Let's try another arcade game. DD Crew, Double D. Ugh, lots of slowdown here. Oh, once you're in the game, it works okay. Whatever. This whole arcade section kinda sucks. Luckily, there's a Mame section that appears to have way more games, over 400 here, and there's games I actually recognize. Let's check out some Turtles in Time. Seems to work fine. Yeah, the gameplay is buttery smooth. It's perfect, and it looks amazing on this screen. And with all these systems, you can save the save state right from the Miyoo software menu, which is super handy. Okay, good start with Mame. Let's try another game. I want a shmup. I love me some shmups. Let's try one of my favorite shmups, Gunbird. That game doesn't work well on lots of these low-end devices. And look at that! It works great here, no issues at all. Unfortunately, the settings don't allow us to change the screen orientation to vertical. That was one thing I liked on the PowKiddy V90 for instance. These shmups look great when you can make them take up the full screen. Kinda awkward to play like that obviously. And they play well here, so I can't complain too much. This feels really good. I could play all day like this. Famicom next, or Nintendo for the Americans or Canadians out there like me. Okay, these are all Japanese. So, the Game Boy games are all English, but these NES games are Japanese. So they must have mixed and matched ROM sets when they made this library. So you have to plan on adding your own NES ROMs if you want to play in English. Now that's a pretty big bummer. Man, I thought they had this stuff figured out by now. Jeez. Okay, let's try some Mega Man. Or I guess since it's Japanese, it'll be Rock Band. Alright, they have Rock Band too. But the words are in English. Is that normal? Rock Band, but English? Oh, it's a translation. Oh, most of these are translated. So it's a Japanese ROM set that's translated. Okay, weird. Well, let's try it out. Mega Man 2. Gotta select the level. Alright, dweebs, trivia time. In Mega Man 2, what's the first level you gotta beat? Well, you don't gotta, but you should. Who's first? Pause the video and say it in the comments. Do you know the answer? Because I do. Metal Man. Yeah, you gotta beat Metal Man and then use his razor blades to beat Wood Man. And then, Bubble Man, I think. Or Air Man. I don't remember. It's definitely Metal Man first. It runs fine. Seems to run as I'd expect. Let's try another game. Let's try some Mario Bros. Yeah, this is working fine too. No problems here. Alright, one more. What's this game? Ninja Jajabaru. Let's try it out. Yeah, it's working good. Oh, what's this game about? I don't understand what I'm doing. Oh, whatever. It works. Oh, one thing I'll mention is that you can't change the aspect ratio or the scaling in the NES. Yeah, I knew that going in though. Russ from Retro Game Corps mentioned that in his review, and he's the handheld retro games Jesus, so if he says it, then it is so. Not a big issue. And the updated firmware image, Onion, that fixes it, apparently. But like I said, I'm going to be doing that in another video, and get subscribed so you don't miss it. Moving along to Megadrive, which is called the Sega Genesis where I live, here in Canada. That's what we called it, Sega Genesis. Almost 850 games in this list here, but mostly USA or world with some European and Japanese games. Seems like a good ROM set. No game box art, so you'll have to add that yourself. That shouldn't be a problem. I'm gonna show you how to do that in my next video. That's a good Sega Genesis game. Streets of Rage? I like that series. Let's go for number 3. Gonna be Axel, my homeboy. Kicking some bad guys' butts here. No slowdown or anything, it runs great. If we open up the native menu, we can see this isn't running in Retroarch, so some of these emulators in the game section are Retroarch and some are standalone. And even here they have the scaling and the resolution locked down, so you're stuck with the default scaling. I think it's by linear filtering. It looks fine though, so whatever. One more game. Let's do Rolling Thunder 3. I've never played this game, but usually when a game gets a sequel and then another sequel, you can be pretty sure that it's a good enough game that they wanted to make 3 of them. Nope, I was wrong. This game is stupid. Sorry if this is like your favorite game or something. Seems pretty lame to me. Loser. Runs fine though, so that's good. I'm gonna jump ahead to the GBA because that's my favorite system. I've told you guys before about why I love the GBA so much, but I'll say it again. I think it's the perfect retro system. The games themselves are mostly 2D pixel-based games with 16-bit graphics, so they all have that retro gameplay and aesthetics, but the games were designed in a more modern era. The GBA was around at the time of the GameCube, so the games themselves have a more modern game design sensibility. And it's a portable system, so they play great on these portable devices. And there was tons of GBA games. This is a big list on here, over 1,000. Mostly North American with a few European here. Seems like a great list. Alright, let's jump into Wario Land 4. This game gave me problems on one of my other devices. I forget which one. It's running great here. That's good news. Great game too, by the way, Wario Land 4. And it looks perfect on this screen. The scaling is great, which makes sense. The GBA was 240 by 160 screen, which is 3 times integer scale for this screen. So at least the GBA games will scale perfectly. Oh, and Retro Dodo, in his video, he said the system didn't save in GBA when he tried it, but mine works fine out of the box, so I just wanted to let you know about that. Let's try something else. Oh, one thing I'll show you is you can add favorites with the menu one, which is an awesome feature that I wish more of these cheap handhelds implemented by default. Let's try the GBA port of Yoshi's Island. And it seems to be working just fine. No audio stuttering, no slowdown as far as I could tell. Cool. Oh, one game that gave me problems on pretty much every device is that crappy Duke Nukem Advance game. Oh, and I guess I didn't talk about the sound yet. It sounds pretty good. Just one speaker, and the placement means you gotta kind of cover with your thumb occasionally if you're not paying attention. That's not really been a problem for me usually. I like that it's a front-facing speaker at least. Okay, this game feels good so far. Good start. Yeah, it still does have some slowdown, doesn't it? But it's not much. It's less slowdown than even my other most powerful device, the Anbernic 280V. I wonder if I could turn on frame skip at the options. Oh geez. Yeah, frame skip doesn't work, obviously. Still, this isn't terrible. This game runs better on this Miyoo Mini than it does on any of my other little portable handhelds that I've tried. And it's basically playable, so that's promising. And then over here on Final Fantasy VI, the intro music is slightly stuttery. So it's not perfect, a few minor issues with some of the harder to run games, but it's on par or better than most of these cheap devices, which is promising. And I think the custom firmware will be a big help. But out of the box, GBA will be like 95% problem free, which is better than lots of these devices. I'm gonna jump over to the SNES and then I'll do some PlayStation, and then I'll circle back and check out a game from each of the rest. Super Nintendo is one of the big boys, and wow, this is a big games list. And they're mostly in English. So, I guess they have mostly North American ROM sets? Shame about the NES ROMs then. They almost nailed it. Let's do something easy and then something hard. What's an easy game to emulate that everyone likes? Earthworm Jim? I used to freaking love this game. Oh, there you go. Runs great. Perfectly smooth. No integer scaling, unfortunately. But same thing here. You don't have any options that you can change. Well, no problems with Earthworm Jim, so let's try something harder. Let's try out Star Fox. That's a game that gives these emulation devices some troubles. Oh my gosh, is it running at full speed? Oh no, I can hear some stuttering. Not quite. But it's better than most of these devices can do. Here, check out the 280V, which is much more expensive than this Miyoo Mini. We actually have more stuttering here. Oh yeah, this is terrible. And wow, going back to this device after playing with the Miyoo Mini, these bezels feel so thick. This whole device feels super chunky compared to the Miyoo Mini. Ew, I'm gonna freaking throw this thing away. I'm gonna take it out to the woods and bury it. Maybe I'll do a video about that. If you want to see me go out to the woods and bury my Anbernic 280V, let me know in the comments. So, Star Fox is almost running at full speed. Not quite, but it's close. That's a good sign. SNES should be mostly problem-free, it seems. Okay, we gotta pull out the big guns. PlayStation. It doesn't come with many PS1 games on it, so you'll have to expect to add your own in the future. I added Spyro, just to make sure that you can add them and they work, and yeah, no problems there. So I'm gonna give Spyro a try. And check it out, it's running great. No issues at all. Spyro's a game that runs on all sorts of low-end hardware, so I wasn't expecting any issues. But check it out, they have Bloody Roar 2 on here. This game is supposed to be the hardest PS1 game to emulate, so this will be a good way to test the power of this Miyoo Mini in a worst-case scenario. Let's see what we're dealing with. Hey, that's not bad. Is it perfect? I think it's running at full speed. If it's not, it's so close that I can't even tell. Wow, that's amazing. So this thing really is much better than the 280V, and it's only $55 compared to the 280V that costs $85, and we haven't even updated the firmware to the new custom Onion OS that's supposed to make the performance even better and add extra options and emulators and stuff. Okay, I'm excited. I can't wait to set that up. I'll be making a video about that, obviously, so get subscribed if you're not yet. And everything else worked fine, of course. The PC Engine games are all Japanese, but the games run fine. NeoGeo Portable, it only has a few games, runs fine though. Wonder Swan Color, all Japanese, obviously. I think that was a Japan-only system, if I'm not mistaken. I had no issues with the gameplay. Sega Master System, the games are in English, and no issues running any of these. And another couple Gameboy games. Again, they're running great and they feel awesome when you play them on an authentic Game Boy style device. NeoGeo runs great too. It comes with over 150 games, and they're mostly English. I didn't have any issues with the tests that I ran, which is good because the NeoGeo is a great system with great games. Here I am in King of Fighters and I have no problems pulling off any of my special moves on this D-pad. So that's it for the systems in the game section. There's another section here, Retroarch, where you can load up each Retroarch core and open the games that way. The problem is that they're not configured properly out of the box, so you get empty game lists. You can fix it with a little tinkering, it's easy to do, but like I said, this video is about the out-of-the-box experience, so this whole Retroarch section is useless at first. And since I'm going to be going to the custom Onion Linux image for this thing, I'm not even going to bother messing around with this stuff. So, what do I think of this thing? Well, as you might have noticed if you watched my videos before, I'm quite easy to please. I like pretty much everything. A device has to piss me off in a serious way for me to complain about it, but even with that said, this Miyoo Mini has seriously impressed me. It's not perfect, the screen isn't as good as it could be, the weird ROM libraries are a bummer, and the fact that you might need to tinker with it before you can access all the stuff you can do. But all my gripes are tiny compared to how I feel about this device as a whole. I freaking love it. I've only had it for a couple days, but it's become my new favorite mini Game Boy styled handheld. I really love the look of it. I love the form factor. The games are in great with very few issues. The games look great on the screen. The system's awesome. How it has that OS level save state and it all just works. It works really good. I haven't had any crashes or hangups or anything. It runs PS1 like a champ right out of the box. I've never had a device that was this enjoyable right off the start. And I haven't even had to do any tinkering or anything. And we have that new Onion image that apparently makes this thing even better if you can believe that. I am just smitten with the Miyoo Mini. I've had a great time with my Bittboy and the Anbernic 280V, the PowKiddy V90 and the LDK, all of which I've reviewed on the channel. But this one blows them all away. And the best part about it is the price. It's not dirt cheap like the V90, but it's not expensive like the 280V. It's a middle of the pack price with top level performance. And it looks so cool. It's freaking adorable and I love it to bits. So this gets my highest honor. 8.5 Game Boys out of 8 2/2 with a bonus TechDweeb seal of retro Game Boy perfection, and it's my new best friend. So get the heck out of here, Bebo, you piece of garbage. So what do you guys think of the Miyoo Mini? Do you have one? If not, does this thing appeal to you? Do you like this form factor or do you like those wide handhelds? Something bigger with more power? I'm curious to know your thoughts on this device. Let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, give me a thumbs up if you like the video, or a thumbs down if you hate Game Boys and things that look like Game Boys. Subscribe so you don't miss any of my videos. As always, I'm TechDweeb. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.